1922. The Valley of the Kings, Egypt. After years of relentless digging, archaeologist Howard Carter stands before a sealed doorway. With trembling hands, he makes a small hole, holds a candle to the opening, and peers inside. His financial backer, Lord Carnarvon, asks impatiently, "Can you see anything?" Carter, stunned, can only whisper, "Yes. Wonderful things." He was looking at the untouched golden treasures of Pharaoh Tutankhamun's tomb, a discovery that would captivate the world. But this incredible moment of triumph would soon be overshadowed by a dark legend, the curse of the pharaohs. Did a curse really claim the lives of those who disturbed the boy king's final rest? Or is there a more logical explanation for the string of strange and sudden deaths that followed? The legend begins with a supposed inscription. Stories circulated that Carter's team found a clay tablet in the antechamber of the tomb, bearing a chilling warning. "Death shall come on swift wings to him who disturbs the peace of the king." Now, it's important to note that the existence of this specific tablet is highly debated. No photograph or official record of it exists in Carter's detailed notes. But whether it was real or just a fantastic piece of fiction, it set the stage for the drama that was to come. The first supposed omen was as dramatic as it was bizarre. On the very day the tomb was unsealed, a strange incident occurred back at Howard Carter's house. He had a pet canary, a small bird that sang cheerfully, bringing a bit of life to the dusty excavation site. The local Egyptian workers, however, saw it as a golden bird, a magical creature. That afternoon, the story goes, Carter's houseboy heard a faint cry from the bird's cage. He rushed in to find a kobroth, a sacred symbol of the pharaohs, the very serpent worn on their crowns to protect them inside the cage, with the canary dead in its mouth. The workers were terrified. They saw it as a direct warning from the spirit of the king. A royal serpent had silenced the golden bird, just as the pharaoh would silence those who violated his eternal home. The first and most famous human victim was the man who funded the entire expedition, Lord Carnarvon. Just a few months after the tomb's opening, Carnarvon was in Cairo. He nicked a mosquito bite on his cheek while shaving. A small cut became infected, leading to blood poisoning. His health rapidly declined, and on April 5, 1923, he died. The story becomes even more theatrical here. At the precise moment of his death, it was reported that all the lights across Cairo inexplicably went out, plunging the city into darkness. Even more astonishing were the reports from his estate back in England. At that same moment, his beloved dog, a terrier named Susie, let out a mournful howl and dropped dead. Coincidence? Or was the pharaoh's curse reaching across continents? Lord Carnarvon's death opened the floodgates. The global press, hungry for a sensational story, began connecting every subsequent death of anyone remotely associated with the expedition to the curse. The list of victims grew. George J. Gould, a wealthy American railroad executive, visited the tomb in 1923. Shortly after, he developed a high fever and died from what was diagnosed as pneumonia. Arthur Mace, a member of Carter's excavation team who helped open the burial chamber, complained of fatigue and died a few years later from what was said to be arsenic poisoning. Richard Bethel, Howard Carter's personal secretary, was found dead in his bed in London in 1929. The circumstances were deemed mysterious, and the media immediately blamed the curse. His father, Lord Westbury, devastated by his son's death, reportedly threw himself from his 7th-floor apartment, with some accounts claiming a statue from his son's Egyptian collection was in the room. The narrative was compelling, a vengeful spirit reaching from beyond the grave to punish those who desecrated his rest. But there's one giant glaring hole in this supernatural theory. His name was Howard Carter. The one man who was most responsible for the desecration, the man who physically broke the seals, who spent a decade cataloging every single object, who breathed in the ancient air of the tomb day after day, he was completely fine. Howard Carter lived for another 17 years after the discovery, eventually dying of natural causes, specifically lymphoma, in 1939 at the age of 64. If the pharaoh was so intent on revenge, why did he spare the main culprit? This is where science steps in to offer a more rational and perhaps even more fascinating explanation.
Think about it.
A tomb sealed for over 3,000 years. What's growing in there? Ancient environments like tombs are the perfect breeding grounds for all sorts of microscopic dangers. Scientists have proposed the tomb toxins theory. The air inside could have been thick with dormant but potentially deadly bacteria and mold spores. Species like Aspergillus niger, a common black mold, can cause severe, sometimes fatal lung infections, especially in individuals with weakened immune systems. When the tomb was opened, these spores would have been disturbed and inhaled by the excavators. Lord Carnarvon, already in poor health from a car accident years prior, would have been particularly vulnerable. His death from an infected wound could simply have been a case of a compromised immune system failing to fight off a common infection. In an era before antibiotics were widely available. Another scientific theory that has emerged more recently is even more intriguing: radioactivity. Some researchers have suggested that the ancient Egyptians may have unknowingly incorporated radioactive materials into the tomb. The rock strata of the Valley of the Kings contain natural uranium. It's plausible that this uranium could have been present in the pigments used for tomb paintings, or even incorporated into the artifacts themselves as a way to protect the tomb. Long-term exposure to low-level radiation, such as radon gas that can seep from uranium-bearing rocks, could lead to various cancers and illnesses, exactly the kinds of things that might not manifest for years, mimicking the slow-acting nature of a curse. This could explain why some people got sick long after their initial visit. Finally, we can't discount the sheer power of the human mind in the media. This was the golden age of newspapers, and the Pharaoh's curse was a story that sold papers like nothing else. Interestingly, many of the most sensationalist reports came from newspapers owned by rivals of Lord Carnarvon. They had a vested interest in creating a media frenzy. Every time someone connected to the dig died, regardless of the cause or how much time had passed, it was front-page news. This is a classic case of confirmation bias. Out of the 58 people present when the tomb was opened, only 8 died within the next 12 years. The others lived long and full lives. The media didn't report on the dozens who were perfectly fine. They only focused on the few who died, creating the illusion of a deadly pattern. The power of suggestion is immense. If you're told constantly that you're cursed, every cough, every fever, every bit of bad luck can feel like the fulfillment of a prophecy, causing real psychological and even physical stress. So what's the final verdict on the curse of King Tut? While the tale of a vengeful pharaoh and the string of eerie deaths makes for an unforgettable horror story, the reality is likely a potent mix of explainable factors. We have toxic molds and bacteria festering in a sealed environment, the possibility of natural radiation, pre-existing health conditions in a pre-antibiotic world, and, most powerfully, a media-fueled hysteria that turned coincidence and tragedy into a supernatural legend. The story of King Tut's curse is a perfect example of how myth can be more powerful and enduring than reality. The real wonderful thing Howard Carter discovered wasn't just gold and artifacts, but a story that would continue to fascinate and haunt us a century later. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this journey into history and myth, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's greatest mysteries. See you next time.